Well, good evening, YouTube channel. This is Belmont here. So, just a little quiet reflection for a Sunday night while watching, Marvel's Thor Ragnarok. I broke out the locks that I'm familiar with to work on my speed and accuracy. So 9 in one setting, including the pair of handcuffs. And this is from just picking with the Clom lockpick set, specifically using the pin tumbler pick. This worm looking one, and a little bit of support from the city rake, and Z tensioner and regular standard Z. Yeah, just a little reflection on mastery of locks. And I will go through the locks in brief here. The U-Haul discus lock. Now, from studying bump keys and keys itself, I have come to realize that usually anything with a circular pattern like this would most likely be a Yale key or Yale style lock. I could be wrong, but perhaps my good friend Taku can clarify if I'm wrong. But I was looking at the bitting. This is indeed a 4-pin lock. They are grouped very closely together, but I would take this discus lock to be a Yale lock of some sort. The handcuffs naturally with the improvised pick tool. My first lock. That I raked open and or bitch picked with a single piece of metal like a safety pin. Brinks padlock. No unique markings or identifiers on it. Fairly wide open keyway. Master lock number 5. The hardened shackle. Quite a heavy little beast. My faultless locks. Which I know now they take an Ilco key. Those were picked open, one right after the other. I do not know the level of security when it comes to any faultless locks or Ilco locks. If there is anyone knowledgeable about the security level of them, feel free to comment. If anyone knows the security level of a Yale 4-pin discus lock, let me know. and what possible security level a hardened shackle Brinks padlock in brass security level would be. Other two, well, that's a KW1 quick set. It's taped up. And the other I can only assume is another quick set, since it was, well, taken off of my ex's apartment or something, and she had it in a bag. One can pretty much only assume that she did go cheap on her locks. Now, a little update. The Clom lockpicking gun that I started out with the wing nut on there, I soon replaced it with the small nut that was in the bag with the picks, and using this multi-tools for my screwdriver and this other multi-tool to hold the nut in place, managed to secure a very good tight fit on the Clom manual lockpicking gun. It held up, but I will say this. I have two other padlocks that are tough fit to open for a manual lockpicking gun. This one, which is, come on, camera focus, 1 3/4 inch padlock, made in China. I do not have the key for this. I'm not going to assume it's a Master Lock knockoff, but stranger things have happened. Another is this True Value, also hardened. It appears to be a 40 millimeter. Don't know who all can see the U.S. patent number on it for apparently the USA and the United Kingdom. I have a Dollar Tree lock that I haven't picked in a while. It's been about a year. But I did manage to pick this about a year back when I first found it, using a brass staple or copper staple as an improvised tension wrench. And if I'm not mistaken, I used a S-rake on it. The Master Lock 140, I have managed to bypass using the comb bar picks. They are a bit biting on the fingers, and have discussed with Taku about the Sparrow's Comb 45s It looked a little bit better, but we also discussed the Chinese variety of the comb picks. So that is still a debate. But I have successfully bypassed this, but have not been able to pick it open yet. With the Klom lock-picking gun, the pathway inside the lock is very narrow. So even with the, put this aside, even with the bent pick and an upward snapping motion, it is a very restricting keyway. So apparently it does not get the grab towards the bumping of the pins as it would be. I have this Kryptonite bike lock here. No key, and obviously not mine. But from what I understand, it is also a Yale lock, as according to lock-picking lawyer when he picked one of these open. Combination locks, well, you don't pick, you shim. And of course, they're a master, made in China, and yeah. I still have the combination on the back of this one. I have two of these. Yeah, the laughable Project Safe Child with what almost looks like M1 keys, but supposedly can be jiggled open using a small to medium set of auto jiggler / wafer keys. And I'll give you a look at the bidding for the keys on these. That looks like a nice little small 4-pinner. Upon further reflection, I have not been able to pick open the Slade Primus yet. It is a slow work in progress, and hey, I am not ashamed to admit my faults. And the same goes for the other quick set locks that I was given, the cylinders. And the Slade. I did, however, attempt to put the Klom lockpick gun into them and give them a go, but with no success at the moment. And I do not consider not being able to pick a lock open a failure. It just means that you try harder. You try again another time. Lock sport should not be about competition. It shouldn't be about Keeping Up with the Joneses. It is supposed to be about learning a skill that is not readily available in a school or books. It's something that can either take up a whole lot of your time or very little time, depending on how much practice you really put into it. You study when you can, you watch videos, you read, you research, you write shit down. It all depends on what effort you truly put into it. And that's the same with any hobby. I would consider myself pretty good at this hobby. I'm not an expert, I'm not perfect. I am simply doing what I can with what I got and not trying to break the law in the process. I will be working on a couple more keychain tags for keychains 10 and 11 of the Master Key set. And I will be working on the pouch holder, what have you, from the gray material that I found while it was raining and dirty on the side of the street. I'm going to keep going because I have only my thoughts and reflections to keep me company. Or I could go completely bonkers and talk to a stuffed tiger, as if I was Calvin from Calvin and Hobbes. I will continue with the next chapter, and I also encourage my viewers to look in the description if there are things not said in the video. I do manage to put a lot of information in the description of the video to fill in the gaps. And it's always nice to read and reflect on the things you learn. At this time, I would like to thank my good friend Taku of Mayhem Keys for being a good and supportive friend. His conversations with me are comforting, because everyone needs a friend. And when you're lonely and have no one around you physically, you need someone to talk to. I don't proclaim to have a wealth of multiple friends. I have my faults. I have my errors. I am me. I'm not perfect. And it's not easy to be who I am. And we're coming up on the 20-minute mark. So, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. Stick around.